You've probably seen him with his saxophone either at DigiPark or at a live event. Allan McCoy is celebrating 9 years of playing the saxophone. His vibrant and outgoing personality makes him stand out, perfectly complementing his passion for music. His journey into music was guided by his parents, who noticed early on that McCoy was different from most kids. They bought him a keyboard when he was just 5, and he quickly became fascinated with musical instruments. In his family, learning a trade is a natural part of growing up. Today, Allan McCoy not only serenades beauty pageant contestants, but also gets his hands dirty working on transmissions in his father's mechanic shop. News 5's Paul Lopez reports.
At just 33 years old, Allan McCoy and his well-loved saxophone are a familiar sight, entertaining anyone willing to listen. Whether he's in public parks, on street corners, or at a beauty pageant, Allan sets up his gear wherever he can and often plays for hours on end. His passion for music shines through every note, captivating audiences wherever he goes.
It all started. I was about small, like about 9 or 10. When I remember listening to saxophone music on the radio whenever while I get something to eat. And then after this, I said I wanted to learn the saxophone so very, very badly. And I didn't get to touch the saxophone until I was 19 because that time there, when I was enrolling at Gwen Lizarraga High School, there was no brass instruments, no woodwind instruments. So after I left Gwen Liz in 2011 with a high school diploma, I waited patiently until I get assistance with Mr. Chris Bradshaw, the man from Western College.
From a very young age, McCoy's parents noticed he was different from the other kids at school. Even as a baby, he stood out with his unique interests and talents. Allan McCoy Sr. told us that he bought 5-year-old Allan McCoy Jr. a musical keyboard that he became fixated with.
He was different because he was considered a special needs child, and so he was a bit of a, how I put it, was struggle in the beginning because we had never had this situation.
So this was new for you?
Yeah, it was. But what we did was we from early we spoke to specialists who explained to us that kids like him need they usually focus their attention on one thing, and we needed to find what it was. So at the age of about 5 or 6, I bought him the first keyboard, and within 1 month he was playing the keyboard on his own. I went into his room and I asked him, I said, can you play Barney, which is not, at that time Barney was what these kids were into, and because he was into that, I said, can you play that for me? Because I wanted to see if he had actually learned something. And the kid literally started playing the song.
And playing the saxophone is not the real McCoy's only talent. He is also a mechanic employed at his father's shop. McCoy Jr.'s father made sure each of his kids learned a trade. Now he pitches in wherever he can, helping out with vehicle transmission repairs.
I've been involved in this mechanic work for the past 13 years. Okay. And I've been doing transmission, and I only do transmission mechanic, and I work with my dad every day, Monday to Friday. I'm also learning to do is helping my dad rebuild the transmission. I enjoyed it really good, just because, you know, when people have some sort of transmission problems, I let them go to my dad in person and let him do the all the situations there.
One of the things that I was stressed on, like when he was going to school, he wasn't a smart child in school, but he had a thing with him that he said, Dad, I know that I'm not smart, he says, and I know that I have to struggle to keep up, so I will study harder and I will try harder. And that is what he did, and that has always been his drive, that he knows his situation, he knows his limitations, and so he pushes himself harder to get things done, and you know, he has succeeded in that way of life.
He does not mind his son skipping work at the mechanic shop from time to time to be present at one of his music gigs. Today, Allan McCoy Jr. is marking a special milestone, 9 years of playing the saxophone. He invited us to join in the celebration through this interview, sharing his journey and passion for music.
My most memorable moment is when I do some live performances for different events like beauty pageants, or for example like Queen of the Bay, or my most favorite Miss Universe, Belize. Yeah. I enlighten the ladies with a bright smile on their face.
Just be there for your child. You know, my son is 30 years old, and he still lives at home. I have not told him one day that, you know, that you need to find a place. I mean, sometimes I get upset with him when he gets out, and I'll tell him, listen man, if you can't respect the home, you need to find somewhere else. But I've never told him come out right and said, son, you know what, we need to sit down and talk because you need to find your own place. No, as far as I'm concerned, they're my children, and I will take care of them until I can no more.
Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.